Let's take a look at some information and charts on Litecoin for Brave New Coin. So Litecoin is a proof of work network that uses the script algorithm. It has a 2.5 minute targeted block time, so a 4x total market supply over BTC, 84 million versus 21 million. For the most part, block times have held below 2.5 minutes for LTC, as hash rate has a propensity to get added over time and bring block times mostly below the targeted block time. If you look at average or unconfirmed transactions over time over the past year, it's mainly held below 200 unconfirmed transactions. That's picked up a little bit since October. They had some sort of gaming airdrop, which I still haven't looked into or really care about, but that kind of clogged up the chain slightly for LTC. You know, clog is more than 500 transactions. Look at ETH or BTC and you'll see, you know, let's just look. BTC over the past year, 60,000 unconfirmed transactions, all various block fees and whatever. So the chains are definitely different. ETH as well, 60,000 as far as what they can handle. And block sizes for LTC relative to BTC and ETH are minuscule. So that's why they can get away with having basically zero unconfirmed transactions effectively. If you look at hash rate and difficulty, hash rate has sort of plateaued slightly recently. This was the halving in August 2019, and hash rate came way down, sort of found its equilibrium again as price began to increase. And just recently has hash rate sort of risen above the plateau of mid 2020, early 2021. And as price increases, hash rate will likely increase as well. ETH is experiencing this now. For ETH's case, it's mainly relative to total fees on that chain. I mean, just look at this, right? This is what happens when miners see a chain and they say, I can get rich, or it makes sense. The ROI is favorable, right, to deploy mining gear. Even though ETH is switching to proof of stake and they're deploying EIP 1559, you know, that doesn't matter as much in the near term, right? Because ROI is so favorable. Something that isn't on the LTC hash rate chart, though, that's interesting is obviously Doge is exploding in price, and LTC and Doge are merge mined, which means if you're mining LTC, you're mining Doge and vice versa. So both of these hash rates, for the most part, are exactly the same, and you're kind of getting a double block reward for mining LTC. So if anything, that's more of a impetus to actually mine script coins, especially because Doge price is at all-time highs in USD terms anyway. If we look at the ASICs available for the script algorithm at 4 cents per kilowatt hour, they are all profitable. Now with scale, obviously, you know, if you have one miner, it's like, who cares, right? 20 bucks a day, maybe this miner costs $20,000. I don't even know, what does it say on here what it actually cost? No, I don't list the price. But it's all about ROI, and then after that, you're free, right? As far as the costs are concerned. So if you can get ROI on this March 21st or March 2021 miner in X number of days, you know, isn't worth it for you. That's really probably how most miners look at this. Now, some miners even get cheaper than 4 cents per kilowatt hour. I saw a quote out of China for 2 cents per kilowatt hour, which is almost free. I mean, it's absolutely insane. Again, obviously at scale, that's a substantial electricity cost regardless, but that just goes to show you normal human electricity costs, you know, consumer electricity costs are much different than mining electricity costs at scale, obviously. So nevertheless, script ASICs still very profitable. If you look at transactions for LTC on-chain and average transaction values, this was that airdrop in October, September 2020. Before that, really any of the volume and transaction activity was relative to BTC's unconfirmed transactions. So throughout most of 2018, 2019, 2020, transactions just stayed flat, essentially didn't do anything, didn't go anywhere. Then as price appreciation starts happening in LTC and across the market in late 2020 and early 2021, LTC is seeing more and more on-chain activity. So there's certainly on-chain activity to support the bullish price. If you look at average transaction values, those are way up as well relative to where they are or where they have been over the past 2 years. So that's what you want to see. You want to see increasing activity as price goes up. not just for speculative purposes, but as a signal that the market cares and wants this thing, whatever it is, right? If it's a currency or supposed to be a currency, then you expect to see more transactional activity. If you look at NVT, inverse metric of economic utility, and active addresses really kicked off in 2017. This again was the previous euphoria mania, January, December 2018, 2017. Active addresses not quite yet to that all-time high period in 2018, but they're coming close. Definitely big spike up since January, and you can see NVT just fall way down as you're seeing more and more on-chain activity. So you want to see, if you're bullish, you want to see NVT falling or low relative to where it was historically, and that's clearly, there's on-chain support here for price is what I'm trying to say. You might think LTC shouldn't exist or is meaningless, but what we're seeing on-chain for LTC makes sense relative to price appreciation. And if you look at MVRV, another inverse metric of economic utility, it measures on-chain activity versus market cap. And historically, price has hit all-time highs around MVRV breaking 2.5. So if we look, MVRV is currently above 2 slightly. And you can see these extremes in MVRV have matched up pretty well with highs in price or all-time highs in price. So it's nearing the end for LTC as far as on-chain metrics are concerned relative to market cap. So if there's all of a sudden a bunch more on-chain activity for LTC in the near term, that says, okay, price can go higher, right? But until that kicks in, it says be careful because it's hitting some back-tested caps for on-chain activity relative to market cap. If you look at Google Trends for Litecoin, they are definitely at multi-year highs. They're not anything close to what happened in late 2017, early 2018. So if price continues to increase, though, you probably will see just absolute craziness with Google Trends. I mean, if we zoom in a little bit, since April 2020, we're certainly elevated and at highs, but we're not anything close to what we were historically. If we look at technicals for LTC, this is the 1 year MA, the 365 MA down here. This is 5 times the 365 MA. And how this works is the green is the buy zone, the red is the sell zone. So it's currently predicting a sell zone basically above 500, which is definitely a new all-time high, probably close to a 2x from where price is now by the time it gets there. The quicker it gets there, the quicker the resistance will hold towards 500. I like that it's above the median line or looking to be above the median line, the midline here. And historically, this hasn't really drifted far above the multiplier, meaning once it gets to wherever the multiplier ends up being, that's pretty much going to be the top historically based on backtesting. So that's definitely worth taking into consideration, right? So for me, if I'm holding LTC, which I'm not, but if this were to approach this level, I'd say, okay, it's probably time to let some go here. It's overbought at this point in time. And currently the support's basically around $100, the 1 year MA. And again, this will keep moving up as price moves up slowly over time. If you look at the daily 5200 EMAs, VPVR, yearly pivots, Bifinex long short ratio, and RSI, long shorts, it's kind of weird. A bunch of the longs got claimed and then redeployed, it looks like, in kind of towards the end of the year. So maybe that was a tax thing or, I don't know. All I can think of is taxes because it's matches up with end of year stuff really well. But nevertheless, shorts are slightly growing. Longs are growing at a quicker pace as we go higher and higher here. The 50 and the 200 cross happened end of 2020, has been bullish ever since. Price is getting further and further away from the 50 and the 200. The 50 and the 200 are expanding slightly. So all this is also saying be careful. It's looking more and more overbought as it goes up here. It's currently at the R3 yearly pivot. The R4 yearly pivot, it's probably around 375, something like that. So it hasn't touched the 200-day moving average since breaking out in October. So that says, I'd get nervous if I was holding up here because eventually mean reversion will happen. Not to be a doomer or a skies falling type guy, but you either want to see this consolidate more than it already has on the daily, or mean revert at some point in time. That's for me where I feel most comfortable getting into this. Now, if you're saying, all right, I'm in it for the long haul, I don't care, I like 500 plus, then, it doesn't really matter what happens here, right? But if you're trading this on leverage, especially if I was trading on the leverage, I would be very careful at these levels. Not a lot of volume support on the way down. Obviously, lots of volume support sub 100 and Another caution here is the bearish divergence. You're getting a higher high in price and a lower high in RSI and volume. Volume hasn't really picked up yet on Bitfinex. If you look at the cloud though, on the daily, it says, it tells you to go long in the beginning of April. You get a bullish TK recross above the cloud here. The best bullish continuation signal you can hope for. It even dipped below the cloud, kind of threatened a full-blown reversal and said, nope, we're going higher. So that was a nice little leading prediction there. Overall though, since October, again, it's been bullish. It's bounced where it should bounce on the Kijun here. That's the buy zone. Stopped you out here if you were long, stopped you out again if you were long, and then said, no, we're going again. So trend-wise, it still looks fine on cloud as well. LTC, BTC never really got low enough for me to feel comfortable to get in a long on LTC. This may continue its mean reversion journey to 008 based on the previous horizontal support turned resistance, based on the 200-week moving average, based on the VPVR resistance. You know, that's all, that looks like where LTC wants to live on the BTC pair. I would have just rather seen it sort of break all-time lows, get a bunch of headlines, make a bunch of people angry who are holding, get a bunch of capitulation. You know, that's where I step in and say, okay, I'll buy that knife, right? But otherwise, I'm going to let it be for now. But it does look pretty good on the weekly chart. Lastly, I'll just mention the ETH and BTC portfolio that I trade for Techme Capital on Enzyme.finance, non-custodial portfolio management tool. You can see the allocations, the trades, what I do and when. It's all there, transparent. And we just started a DeFi portfolio as well. Yesterday, I started to allocate some of the capital into various DeFi related coins. So if you have any questions about any of that, ask me in the comments below. Like, dislike, share, subscribe, and happy trading.